The fact that we were able to get super fast walking speed and we were able to fly is an indication that the server doesn't really check the position sent by the client. So I think we should try to teleport. So how can we get teleporting to work? When you look at the methods of the player class, or to be more specific, the actor class which the player inherits from, then you can see a SetPosition method. It takes a 3-dimensional vector as parameter, and vector 3 has x, y, and z values. That looks like a very good candidate to try, but how to make teleporting usable and fun in game? So my first plan was to implement a small command and control server. I wanted to use the tick function, which is called multiple times a second, to check if a command arrived, and then I could write a neat control panel to teleport around wherever I want. But there's a much cooler idea. So, as you know, I try to solve these challenges on my own, which means I haven't looked up any write-ups or solutions from other people. But of course, because these write-ups exist, you sometimes get accidentally spoiled. And I got a glimpse at one of them when looking into some issues I was having. I tried to be careful not to spoil any solutions, and I didn't in this case. It's just a really neat idea I'm stealing now from somebody else. Unfortunately, I can't properly credit where I got it from now because I don't remember and I'm scared to look it up again. Not that I spoil anything serious. The awesome idea was using chat messages. So the player class has a chat method which takes a string as parameter. So when we override this method and add a printf that simply prints the string passed as a parameter, we can see anything we type into the chat. And now we can use it to handle commands. How about a teleport command? To do that, we do a string and compare on the incoming message to check if it starts with TP. Next, we want to read in some coordinates, which we can do with scanf. So we create a new 3D vector and then use scanf to scan the input chat message for 3 float values and assign them to the vector's x, y, and z attribute. Now we simply have to set the position of the player. But you know what's cool? Because we are inside the player class, we can now use this, which is the instance of the player object where this method is called on. So we can simply do this SetPosition to the new position. So let's try this out. We compile it again as a shared library, then LD preload it into the game process, log in, and here we go. TP000. Holy crap, it worked! We teleported to 000. And we are somewhere underground. These blocks here look like corridors. I think this is the Blocky dungeon challenge. Remember the crazy big room with all the logic gates that have to be set correctly to open the store to reach the chest? Maybe we can just teleport into it. Let's add another convenient command to our chat control. TPZ to only teleport on the vertical Z axis. Essentially we do the same, we check that the message starts with a TPZ command. Take a 3D vector, but this time we get the current player position because we only want to change the Z coordinate. And then use scanf to only scan for one float value that is assigned to Z. So let's teleport back to 000 and then we walk to where the chest could be. It should be at the end of this big room. So maybe here? Then let's try it. TPZ 1000. Not high enough. TPZ 2000? TPZ 3000? Not quite there, but we made it into the big room. So let's just walk to the window, teleport back under the map, walk a small step forward, and teleport back up. Boom, there we go. But we can't open the chest. Would have been too easy for 400 points. But it was worth a try, right? Maybe let's check out that bear quest again. During the Let's Play, we learned that when we try to open the chest, a 5-minute timer starts and we get swarmed by bears that attack us. But now we can teleport and fly. So let's try that again. Let's trigger the chest and teleport onto this conveniently placed tree. So now we are out of reach for the bears. Look at the hordes of bears that can't do anything. Now we just have to wait. Oh, some big bears are joining, but they can't climb trees. What the fuck? Achievement, the right to arm bears? And we got killed by a bear with an AK-47? What the heck? Are the bears supposed to have assault rifles? Well, that didn't work out. The bullets can reach us in the tree. And first I didn't know what to do. But then I remembered that we could also port under the map. Can we trigger the chest and then hide from the bullets? Let's try that. Activate, teleport down, and we are falling. Ah, darn. We fell too far and the timer was deactivated. But if we could somehow hover right under the surface, we could still not be seen and stay in the circle. So let's program that. I create a new command, ! Which I use to trigger a position freeze. For that I define two global variables, a boolean freeze and a freeze position. So if we are not frozen, we set a frozen position to the current one and set the frozen flag. But if we are already frozen, we simply set frozen back to false. Then we can use a tick function that is called multiple times a second to check for the frozen variable, and if it's turned on, we set the player position to the frozen position. Pretty simple, but hopefully effective. Let's try it. We jump into the air and then trigger the freeze. Oh damn, that's jerking around. How could we make that smoother? Let's look over the methods again. Maybe it's the velocity that pulls us down. So how about we set the velocity to 0 when we freeze? That should resolve that. Oh, and so that we can teleport while being frozen, we also have to update the freeze position upon a teleport as well. Now let's go back to the bears and try it. We activate the chest, quickly freeze, and teleport right below the surface. Awesome. Now we are just chilling here until the time runs out. Oh man, we somehow fell out of the circle again? Why? I was really confused at first, but when I looked at my hovering character from another perspective, I understood why. The server obviously still thinks I'm falling. It will reset constantly to our hover position, but sometimes it will just have bad luck and the server dropped me too low before the new update came. We can also see that when we check out the velocity before we reset it to 0, it will always have the negative value for the gravity that is pulling us down. And sometimes that is already too far. So what if we set a positive velocity in our freeze section? Then whatever the server will apply to it, it won't pull us down too far. Well, it seems like a good idea, it also didn't do the trick. Though I found a way to make it work, but it's not very elegant. I noticed that when I keep jumping constantly, then the character hovers pretty perfectly. So I was trying to invoke the jump programmatically, which I thought is done via the setJumpState command, which triggers a server update, but apparently it's not enough. Also set remote position and rotation didn't do it. So if anybody has a good, easy idea that doesn't involve a space pressing macro, let me know. But I really want this flag now, so I suck it up and I go to the chest again, activate it, teleport under the chest, and then get carpal tunnel syndrome. Stupid, but it works. We are not falling out of the circle, and so now we just have to wait. There we go, quest complete. We made it. Now we just have to get to the chest. Let's try to drop down and spam the E key to pick up the content of the chest. What just happened? Probably all these objects pushing into the tight space just launched me off. Oh, and it launched me into the direction of the island with the cows. There you have a new speedrun strategy. Let's log out to make sure all the bears are despawned, go to the chest again, and then we can finally get our flag. Flag of the bear. They couldn't bear the sight of you. And we got a new weapon, the remote exploit, elite sniper rifle. Reach out and exploit your enemy's vulnerability to large caliber bullets. Awesome.